I am Jermaine Morris here with the one and only Mr. Berry Accius.
Yes, sir.
Back with the latest episode of the Say Something podcast.
Say something, say something, say something.
This is where we get together and talk about all the different things going on out here in life, whether it be politics, relationship, race, current events, whatever.
And birthdays.
There's
a birthday guy right here. Yes, sir. Happy birthday, my brother.
Oh, thank you very much.
No doubt. It's birthday.
Yep.
It's a birthday guy. 25?
We'll call it 25 part 14.
It's a blessing. It's a blessing. It's a beautiful thing. You know what I'm saying? Celebrating with you and, understanding your frame and getting to know you. And it's a beautiful thing, man, that you made it this far. Congratulations. And a brother like you getting this far as a black male, kudos.
I appreciate that. I appreciate it. I'm one of those people that enjoys getting older. Like, I know some people.
You enjoy getting gifts too, man. Get them some gifts, y'all. Come on now.
I'm not even like the gift guy. Like, okay. I always tell people when they want to get me something, I say, if you want to do something for me, come grab a bite to eat with me. Come have a drink with me.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Like I said, don't worry about shopping and all that. I care more about the relationship than I care about trying to come up.
I'm trying to come up. So with me, drop a gift and get the hell away from me. Leave me alone. You know what I'm saying? That's me. But hey, different strokes for different folks.
All right.
Congratulations again.
Nothing wrong with that. I ain't going to toot my own horn like I'm on no high ground because I have a real self-serving holiday. Like I said, I spend the week doing whatever it is that I want to do.
The whole week, dog.
I spend pretty much the whole week. It's actually called a festival. It's called Mardi Gras.
I'm scared that I even brought this shit up, man.
Yeah. It's actually called Mardi Gras.
So instead of you doing a month like some people do, what I think is ridiculous, you do your whole week.
2 week, real self-serving. It's all the stuff I want to do.
Perfect.
It's, if it's eating at my favorite restaurants every night of the week.
What's one of your favorite restaurants?
Not too much in town anymore.
Okay.
So typically, this year I've stayed home, but last year I was in New York, and so
my hometown.
Yeah, so I was in New York last year.
Yeah, you a week over there.
Yeah, it was good times.
Crazy.
I was in Tahoe the year before that.
Okay.
So typically,
you got destinations.
Yeah, I've been to Mardi Gras in Chicago and Vegas and Hawaii. I did it when I was in Paris. I've been. Yeah, so it's. So I said it ain't like I'm like just a humble. Quiet birthday.
Okay, well, good.
Because I look at it as that's my holiday. That's the only thing I celebrate.
Yeah.
So it's I appreciate getting older.
No doubt.
So to me, each birthday is not about can I get some jackets or a hat or some shoes. To me, it's like I appreciate being around for another year.
You know what? Especially, I gotta also say shout out to my cousin of Action. Jason Accius, he's actually turning your same age.
Okay.
Another healthy 25, right? And we was doing some stuff building in Atlanta, and I was talking to him and giving him a shout out because his birthday was December 13th or whatever, and I was just letting him know all the great things he was doing because I think that when you have that moment of clarifying and all the things that you've gone through to get to that point, right?
Yeah.
That moment of reflection, so to speak. Sometimes I think we don't give ourselves enough credit, right? And I was giving him kudos on, dude, I remember when you was this age at this point of your life and look at where you're at now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I give that respect to you because I've watched in a short amount of time the development, right?
Yeah.
And you still look like you're 16, you know what I'm saying, with just some facial hair.
Yeah.
and
good skin.
Yeah,
melanin.
That melanin. But I think that it's always important. I think that I value my birthdays more now to celebrate where I'm at now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Before it was yo, I'm getting older and this shit ain't moving the way it's supposed to move, right? Yeah. So when you really have overcome different obstacles and you get to that point, I think that it's always important to celebrate. Yeah. But celebrate because you should celebrate. Some people celebrate and there's no reason to celebrate.
Yeah, it's just a reason for the turn up.
Yeah.
But like I said, I really look at because I've had a few incidences in the course of my life where I could have very easily no longer been here.
Oh.
So I look at, anything specifically one that, before we get into really stuff, but one specifically about 15 years ago, I got a car accident.
Ooh.
And so I took a telephone pole at 45 miles an hour.
Wow. I think you did tell me about that. Yeah.
So,
okay.
engine in the front seat. Like, it was just car just crushed in. The pole went halfway through the hood. Like, it could have very easily that very easily could have been a wrap. Wow. And so I really appreciate each year. Okay. And so to me, my birthday is like, it's not like, just a reason for cake and drinking and partying, but it's like, I'm appreciating another 365.
And on top of that, you appreciate it, but then you are developing and you're growing.
Yes.
You're not staying stagnant.
Not just partying, but appreciate. And then I appreciate every day I get to get up as an opportunity to be better.
Yes, sir.
And so rather than squander the opportunity to be better, I try to learn more, study, be around different people, different energies, different information. Like I try to live.
Yeah.
I don't just like existing each year. I actually try to live.
So motherfuckers is just existing.
Yeah, I never want to do that. I don't want to just exist for 80 years. Like I was.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah, but I appreciate the birthday shout out.
No doubt. I would sing for you, but I leave that for my ladies.
That's all right. Yeah, that's okay. I'm hearing it in my head. I'm with you.
That's a little bit of right there.
I'm with you in spirit. So there's a lot of stuff been going on out here since the last time we got together, and kind of a theme that I was getting when I start thinking about some of the stuff that I've seen in the press and in the news and what's important. And it kind of piggybacks to something else as we speaking about life and getting older. Something that today I saw was actor Alan Thicke. He's the daddy of Robin Thicke.
Damn, I know, right?
And if you don't know, his biggest claim to fame, aside from his son, was he was Dr. Jason Seaver on Growing Pains, a sitcom that came on in the 80s. And he was a different kind of father figure because he was a psychiatrist. Yeah. And so he had more of a kind of a liberal approach to parenting. Yeah. It wasn't, he wasn't the Al Bundy of the era, or he was, he was a sensitive dad.
Yeah. Peep game how in those moments of those, like the early 80s, late 80s, early 90s, how they had all those powerful figures of white fathers.
Yes.
Right? That really kind of cemented, white culture. Like, here's our premier dads. Yeah. Where are y'all Negroes?
Yeah, he was the offset to. Now you got to remember too. It was the Cosby Show was.
But you also remember who's the boss, Tony Danza.
Oh no. I'm just saying So what was the Cosby Show on one end? Its offset was Growing Pains. Sure. And then there was also several other family shows at the time, but he was a doctor, his wife was a journalist,
All American Family.
Yeah. And so, and kind of looking at that today, he actually passed away having a heart attack while playing hockey
with his son,
19-year-old son. He was 69.
We're like, he looked pretty good.
Yeah. He was in good shape, and like I said, his son, the most famous son, is Blurred Lines fame. Lost Without You, Robin Thicke. Look just like his daddy.
Yeah.
Have you ever and sound just like him too when he talks. But what was making me think about that is that presence of a strong male figure, and then I look at what's our strong presence who's our strong male figure that we look at, because there's all these different incidences that keep happening.
Yes.
And who's the go-to?
We're lacking.
Like when I think of like family fathers, I don't jump to Cliff Huxtable. I actually jump to James Evans.
He was my dad.
Yeah, when I think of...
I look at James Evans and I was like, that's really actually my dad.
Yeah, that was mine too.
That was my dad.
That was. And if you don't know, James Evans, that was the father on Good Times. That was a little more on the struggle side of the game. Yeah. The Huxtables was the Cosby Show, and that was, Cliff was a doctor, mother was a lawyer. They was privileged in the nice spot in Brooklyn. I believe Good Times was in Chicago. And it was in the projects. But James Evans was hardworking man, there for his kids. He'd fight for their honor, but he put a foot in their ass if necessary. And so when I think of, even now, even though that show's been off the air 30 years, that's who I still look at when I think of, those imageries of fatherhood outside of my own, like the imagery of fatherhood.
No, definitely he reminded me of my dad. Like real talk, he did. I promise you, he did.
Yeah, and so I look at that shouldn't be that wide of a gap.
Yeah.
And so when I think of like those prominent male figures, and I think of the male figures that we have now, the ones that are put in front of our youth and our women and represent the culture. we start looking at different kinds of behavior. And so, you know, the way that you carry yourself, you know, the code, you know, the stuff that we grow up in is in male behavior, how we interact with each other, interact with women. I'm just seeing how this is playing out. And one of the things, like, we got old boy, Atlanta boy, dress wear.
Young Daga.
We call him Jeffrey.
Young Daga.
You know, we got dress wearing Young Thug in the airport disrespecting women, the staff at the airport.
Yeah.
And, like, I'm seeing this is what the young folks are looking at.
Yeah.
Now, I applaud his mother, because Young Thug is 25.
Yeah.
And his mother actually made him go back and apologize to the staff, because he called them
peasants,
ants and peasants.
Yeah.
And singled out 2 women and called them 2 black burnt women.
Yeah.
Just extremely disrespectful.
And try to offer them money to quit their job and all that.
All because they wouldn't allow him to board a plane because he showed up too late.
Yeah.
And so I applaud his mother for having him go back and apologize. But that type of behavior,
that kind of fuckery,
is what these young people, and this is boys and girls, not just who young boys are emulating, but this is who the women are looking at. This is male behavior. Mm-hmm. So what's going on with on our side of the game?
Well, how the fuck does a motherfucker that wears a dress, toting guns, really become the figure that we look to resemble anything of a man? You know, and when I never, like, when I see ignorance like that, you know, it usually comes on my timeline. I don't really try to chime in too much because I read enough of what it is. I don't want to kind of listen to figure out, to kind of entertain that, get more likes to it. But as I read people's comments and I heard more about it and I got the information from different sources, it just, to me, is the nature of how sensitive this world has become, but how hard it is at the same time, right? It's almost a way to where people get busted up about the littlest things, right? Okay. But then they do the most outlandish things, right? Okay. The more bolder things. Like, years ago, you would never be able to do that.
Yeah.
Right? You know what I'm saying? Years ago, you wouldn't have a phone and be able to disrespect these people without some ramifications, right? Yeah. You know, now it's almost like, well, let me put it on World Star, or let me go ahead and put it on my FaceTime. It's like, hey, look at y'all. I'm embarrassing these people because people have laughed before with other things that I've done. So this is a part of my character, so I'm going to continue to do that, right? Yeah. So when you got this guy who's an ass clown altogether, right, who definitely has a problem with his sexuality. He doesn't know which side he wants to go to, and I wish he would kind of just say who he is in reality. I ask myself, who the fuck do these motherfuckers think they are? Because you keep on forgetting that before you was in the bottom. You got to remember that you came from a black mother, right? Yeah. And the simple fact that we've all had incidents in the airport that probably weren't friendly, right? Yeah. But you don't go out your way using your star, and these people who have kind of looked up to you and got you to the place where you're at to be able to do things and get your mother out the hood and feed your family, look at them as peasants, especially sisters who have it hard enough trying to break away from this image that this motherfucker right here wants to put it on front line and blast. And I don't really care that his mom had to tell him to go apologize. I say that Negroes like this need to be cut and banned in our community.
Okay, and I have no love for this dude. I don't know the man. I couldn't tell you a Young Thug song. But 2 things. One, going along with that is, first off, let's just say these weren't fans. They didn't help you get up there. They didn't help you do anything. Just what type of man? Like, if he was 15 and was a millionaire and he was feeling himself and he was inappropriate and immature, I could sit there and be like, okay, he just doesn't know any better at this stage of life. This is a 25-year-old man. Mm-hmm. So that all those passes are gone. Yeah. And the second part is it's great to my eyes that his mom recognized he was out of pocket. Yeah. But the second part is that, where were the men to check it?
I ain't heard nothing.
Like, there was no dudes that came out and were like, hey, Bo, what you doing?
Exactly. Nothing.
Like,
The women were there to defend themselves.
Yeah.
If this happened to some Jewish white women, Jeffrey, Young Thug, whatever you want to call him, would not have a career.
Yeah.
It's become more or less the easy and cool thing to do to disrespect black women. Like, literally, it's become like, who cares? Disrespect them. No one's going to bother.
And my thing is, regardless of if, say, forget the professional side of the airport or the label execs up top.
Yeah.
You're a 25-year-old rapper. Your peer group are, the everything from the Little Yachty's and the 21 Savages to the Kendricks, to the J. Cole's, I didn't hear from none of them. Now, granted, they're young. So if you're like, okay, well, that's a peer, we're eye to eye. Let's shift up a generation. Yeah. Where are your Snoops, your Jay-Z's, your Puffies? You know what I mean? Like, there was just nobody.
No conversation.
No grown man came in like, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah. None.
Like you're with Cash Money. You know what I mean? Out of all them dudes, all these grown ass 40-something-year-old men, nobody was like,
because their level of disrespect with women and how women are, and I don't know why, and that's what always used to trip me out, like how women flaunt themselves to these guys that don't give two shits about them, right? Yeah. You're better to deal with us. I mean, we're not going to have the Lamborghini car, but I mean, you're going to have a better race with us compared to them who what it is. Yeah. But the simple fact that because he has been given this kind of royal treatment with everyone and whoever, because he is Young Thug, you think that you can get away and have a pass by disrespecting these young women, right? And the thing that pisses me off is, like, I guarantee you wouldn't do it with some white women.
See, and that's huge. And I agree with you.
Facts.
And I agree with you. And so that's why I say when we start looking
motherfucker would have been arrested.
Well, let's just say, let's not even look to the backlash side. It just wouldn't have been done. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, forget whatever the would have came down the pike and whatever the repercussions would have been. It just wouldn't have been done. And that's why I'm looking at, the strong male figures for our community and for our young men and young women coming up. I mean, the faces the faces of our current franchise, is Kanye. You know what I mean? Like when if you started saying, name off the top 5 most, influential or famous black men of a particular age. We're not going to jump up to the 60-some-odd-year-old dudes. Yeah. If you start talking, 40 and under, 45 and under, that dad age.
Yeah.
45 to 35. Yeah. Yeezy is top 3. Mm. LeBron's not old enough. Mm-mm. Kobe's just kind of there. Yeah. But no one associates, Kobe Bryant with a father figure. Yeah. Will Smith is just kind of, you know what I mean? So when it starts talking about who's that prominent male dad-aged figure for the young kids and the young women to look to, what are we putting out there?
Nah, we ain't putting it, because if you calling him out Kanye.
That's what I'm saying. Like, if you say, because Kanye is about 35, roughly. So
I would think that's just a guy like Jay-Z before Kanye.
Well, but Jay-Z's like 46, 47. So he's right. He's right about there.
Well, there's really, I mean, they all act young and mature.
That's the thing, though. That's what,
you know what I'm saying? Like, as I call it, they're all in the Peter Pan syndrome. You know what I'm saying? They don't want to grow up.
Yeah, because and for some of you who think that this is too young of an age to associate fathers, you got to, like, to a teenager, to typically your parents are roughly anywhere from 18 to 25 years older than you.
Yep.
For the most part. Yep. Some of them have kids a little bit earlier. Some of them have, maybe if you're the 4th or 5th child, there's more years aside. But typically about 20, 22 years is the gap.
Yep.
So if your 15-year-old is in high school looking to who looks like dad, Kanye looks like dad. Mm. Will Smith looks like dad. Mm. Like I said, Kobe looked like dad.
T.I. looks like dad.
Yeah. Snoop looks like dad. You know, and so when we start thinking about that prominent figure that we're putting out there, you know, I don't know when
there's no James Evans, there's no
this group,
Bill Cosby, there's no one that, you know, there's no what?
Hell, even Carl Winslow.
Yeah, Uncle Phil. There's no Uncle Phil. You know what I'm saying? And I think that it was funny. I think J. Cole kind of hinted onto something like that. You know what I'm saying? When he was like, rest in peace to Uncle Phil. Yeah. It's like, because that resembled to so many people as a father figure, right?
Yeah, it's and a good example, because I remember Will Smith had his birthday like 2 years ago or something like that, and they said the irony, they thought it just to give a benchmark is he had turned the age then that James Avery, who played Uncle Phil, was when he was Uncle Phil to him at the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Crazy.
That's why I say Will's that age too. Yeah. Now, you don't think of Will Smith now as the same age as James Avery, because James Avery just looked old.
Yeah, he did.
But there was a certain presence that came of that generation.
Of a man.
Yeah. Like
of a man.
You know, a 44-year-old man back in the late 80s, early 90s is what a 55, 60-year-old man is now.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Definitely. And now, when you have these discussions and you're looking at, like, who is in this guy's camp? Young Thug.
Yeah.
Like who?
That's Birdman.
You know what I'm saying?
Boy.
And then when you talk about the older fathers of the Jay-Z's and the Birdman ages, these Negroes is all running in the same lane. That's why I think we talked about it on one of our podcasts. I am happy with the mature level of Jay-Z kind of transitioning. I'm not saying that he's all the way there, but he's a lot more there than him staying stagnant and being a part of some of this fuckery, right?
Yeah, he's talking about political aspirations and who he aligns himself with in industry
and real big business and things of that nature. But when you got guys like a Young Thug, and of course we're going to touch on the Kanye and all his madness, you just got to ask yourself, like, have we really failed our black youth by not having enough strong individuals? And are we okay with allowing people to be so disrespectful and not being checked, right?
Yeah.
In those moments to where reality is this, dog, it's not the simple fact that you're disrespecting those women, you're screwing up your career. Because it takes you saying it to the wrong person, and you're going to be sitting here going to Harlow's and hoping that 10 people show up.
Yeah.
So
if you're not from Sac, Harlow's is a venue in Sac. And it's true, because something that, taking what you were saying, and it's something I've said all the time when we talk about this generation. This is the first time kind of ever where the two generations are so close. So a 15-year-old and a 35-year-old are the same now.
Mm.
The old days, if your dad was 35 and you were 15, you know, you trying to sneak some Ice Cube he's listening to Kool in the Gang.
Mm.
You know, maybe he's listening to Run DMC or LL Cool J. He's putting on the time.
Yeah.
Like, he's listening to James Brown and Stevie Wonder. Yeah. Like, this, the music, the movies, everything was different. Yeah. Now, 15-year-old and a 35-year-old listen to the same music. Yeah. They watch the same movies. Yeah. They get the same Jordans when they come out. They both waiting for Madden to come out in 2K.
There is no separation,
there's no, all a 35-year-old now is a 15-year-old that can drink and smoke.
There you go.
Like, there's no delineation between these generations.
Before there was a divide.
A huge divide. Like my father is, do my math real quick. My father's about 27 years older than me.
My dad's older than me.
So there's 27 years between me and my father.
I think my dad got probably a 30-something plus on me.
Okay.
Sure.
And even to shrink that, because to my older siblings, where that 27 drops down to about 21, 20-year difference, there was no overlap.
And my dad wasn't my friend.
Exactly. And that's huge too.
Nah, my dad wasn't my partner.
And neither were his friends.
Nah.
And neither were my friends' fathers weren't my friends.
We're cool, but we're not friendly. It was like, I like the kid.
Yeah, he's cool and all, but
it's not, you didn't even feel, do they like me? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There was an uncomfortable feeling when you coming in. You like respectfully, hey sir, hey, how you doing, Mr. Yada yada.
So and so here, so you know, you didn't come around at dinner time.
There wasn't my dad's friend that wanted me to hang around and just was kind of showing me the ropes. It was like, all right, Beat it.
Or he wasn't coming in the room with y'all in there playing Tecmo Bowl.
Yeah.
Let me get on the controller. Yeah, let me get on the controllers next.
And I think because of that lack has created the nature of what we're dealing with right now today.
Yeah.
The lack of fatherhood, the lack of real men, the lack of separation. Because you got an iPhone, I got an iPhone. You got a Galaxy, I got a Galaxy. You know what I'm saying? You got a Apple laptop, I got an Apple laptop. You wearing True Religions, I'm wearing True Religions.
We're both waiting for J. Cole album to drop. Man. We both just watched the new Rick Ross video.
We both going to the Drake concert.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's, yeah. and there's no separation.
You know what I'm saying? Like, they was going to Cameo, and we was trying to sneak in to go see NWA or Run DMC.
Yeah.
Like, they wasn't coming with us.
Yeah, I can tell you as a kid, my father didn't care about none of that.
None of that stuff.
All he cared about, the curse words. I don't want y'all listening to that. If it was too much cuss. He didn't care about content. Mm-mm. He couldn't tell you who Special K was or Special Ed. Nah. He didn't know the difference between Chub Rock or Heavy D.
And it's a gift and a curse. It's a gift and a curse because we want to be able to be relevant. But I think it's become more of a curse.
Yes.
Because look what relevance has gotten us.
Yeah.
As a man, you shouldn't be sagging just like your son or your son's friend. Right?
Exactly.
You as a man, your vocabulary should not be the same vocabulary as a 15 or 16 year old.
Oh, yeah. Last year, because at least we finally buried the word. But yeah, last year I got listening to 35-year-olds talking about stuff on fleek. Like, really?
Man, that word. Remember that word?
You know what I'm saying? Like, really? Yeah. Remember that your fit's on fleek right now? Like you 37 and your fit's on fleek?
Yeah, on fleek.
Your fit's on fleek?
Like, I am not. what with me, I'm not a club kind of dude.
Yeah.
Not at all. Like, I used to be that guy. But I learned, and I remember telling me the young G, like, man, B, you need to come over. I said, young G, man, that days is over with me, brother. It's your time. You go ahead and move the way you need to move. Be that. That's you, baby. That's you. Pass the baton.
Yeah, club hopping is like an NFL running back.
Man.
You should start thinking about retirement around 29.
Yeah.
Sure. 29, 30, you should be looking at retirement. Sure. Like we were just talking before we started recording. You know, I go to functions where it's for my age bracket.
It's my age bracket, 90s music, right?
I just went to a Big Daddy Kane show last night. You know, I'll go to a 90s party.
Yeah, but I'm not going to go see 21 Savage.
Exactly.
What do I got to be there for?
Exactly.
If I'm not making some kind of money, like doing some type of security, or I done bought the venue and maybe I'm trying to flip
some money. Yeah. So I've been a nightclub guy for years, and so I've worked in bars and clubs, and from everything from bouncing, DJ, and whatever. And then I did work music businesses, recording, artist management, and marketing. So I used to work with younger acts, so guys that were 22, 23, and so I'd have to go to nightclub stuff with them. I was there 5 minutes, and I'm just like, I know I got to be here, but there's I just felt like the old guy at the club.
I was in the same position.
Yeah.
But what I did is I digressed, and I started getting caught back up into that hype.
Yeah, see, I was.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I got caught. I started getting back into that flavor and that feeling because it was so normal to me.
Yeah.
This is what I'm from.
Yeah.
But then again, at the same time, I'm almost aged out. So when I left that whole lifestyle, and I think that was one of the main reasons why I left the music industry, because it almost kind of dumbed me down in a sense.
Yeah.
Like it didn't make me mature enough. So I had to be in my own lane, and I couldn't babysit a bunch of Negroes. And some of the fuckery that goes on, some Negroes are worse than females when it comes to gossiping and doing some bullshit. Yeah. And that's why you have guys like Young Thug. That's why you have shit that Kanye West is doing, and people are losing their mind thinking, like, oh, he's got mental issues. And this is the thing that I don't like. Mental illness is serious.
Very much so.
My mother is mentally ill.
Very
so
serious.
I know exactly what this
serious.
is all about. You dig what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I've fought depression myself. I know a lot of people that are battling demons to this day.
Yes.
The difference between us and a guy like Kanye is his access. His money can change all of his situation.
Yeah.
his bounce back, and his help.
Yeah,
right?
Positive and negatively.
All day long.
Yeah.
But when you have a guy like that is craving for that attention, I don't want to hear mental health, because you're going to turn around and play yourself when everyone's crying. They're going to do him like they did Prince. Nah. He doing you because he knows, a smart businessman, I kind of fucked up with all this ranting. I may lose some money. Let me disappear, isolate myself, hospitalize myself. And I'm not saying he wasn't at the hospital, but at the same time, that's going to get the heat off me so I can come back and show up with Trump.
Yeah, there's a big difference between needing to put yourself on timeout versus, like the mental breakdown and instability. Because I agree with you because the mental health issues are extremely real serious and don't get enough attention, and they get downplayed too much. And I'm not even going to say Kanye don't have some issues. I'm sure there's a few rattling around up there. But when you start looking at just bad behavior, and eventually he probably was suffering from exhaustion and everything else they were saying, because he was the same way Cat Williams was, same way a lot of that self-inflict.
But that's your job, that's your occupation. You choose to work that hard. Don't blame it on, I don't want to hear that.
No, this is the difference, because I never heard it from either one of them. This is why I'm only saying that sometimes folks just got to go sit down somewhere.
Yeah, for sure.
So if that's what he had to do, whatever. But what I look at is that he is what these young kids look at. And you got a guy who goes on rants and tangents about, not being invited to the party. They block me from this, they keep me from that, and then
female shit, dog.
Very, very emotional.
And you know what? Let me excuse me. Let me not disrespect my queens. I'm sorry, because it's not female situation. I shouldn't say that, because those traits aren't female. They're kid shit. Right?
They're immature. Yes.
It shows a sign of immaturity. I'm not going to label it as female, because there's a lot of women that are hard body compared to some of these suckers, right?
Yes.
And more, when you fall in love with like that person, the underdog, and the music, and you try to even fall in love with the character because you want to like the person as well. And I think that was always something big with Kobe. It's like, damn, this motherfucker is dope on the basketball court, but you just felt he was just an asshole, right? Even if you didn't ever know a story, you just felt that.
People love to hate Kobe.
Yeah, but
even before the Colorado stuff, they just
indeed that, and when they got the Colorado stuff, they ran. But America's America. It comes back to love you again. Build you up, break you down.
Oh, he's fine again now. He gets cheered. He's standing ovation
everywhere he goes. He gets like he's shit a pass like the president. But with a guy like Kanye, from all of the things that may be real, like he's broken so many male man codes, right? First of all, you're speaking upon business from your best man, Jay-Z, and his wife. Like, what kind of attention are you seeking from them? Like, I understand what you're looking for something, but you don't put business out like that on those kind of public platforms, dog. You don't.
He is a prime example of I look at the daddyless side of the game.
Yes.
Because I think and this is just, my little armchair quarterbacking, Jay-Z represents
the father figure,
the elusive father
the
figure.
big brother.
Yeah, because there's a good decade between the two of them. And so, he is that guy. And anyone, Jay-Z very rarely gives interviews. He doesn't speak on his personal life. Yeah. Doesn't speak, you hard pressed to get any real information about him. He'll tell you all about his ventures and, what money he made on what. But you'll never really hear him talk about himself. Guarded and stuff. But Kanye's that kid who's just looking for attention. But he represents this younger group of men out there because a lot of them are in the same boat.
Look at me. Look at me.
Please look at me.
Hey,
somebody look at me.
Give me likes. Give me likes. Come on to my social media page. Snapchat me. Yeah. Totally.
So you get these guys looking for attention because there's that missing male figure. Like when we were younger, your sports figures were, now granted, some of them was a little out there.
But you didn't know they was out there.
Well, no, but I mean, so as a kid, now granted, he was different, maybe he just didn't talk as much. I was a Charles Barkley fan when he played for the Sixers.
No.
Just because the aggression, like I was like that's a dude, right? Like I was a Mike Tyson fan,
yeah, for sure.
You know, like this is the guy. He didn't do all the flowery dancing around. He came in, he clocked in and went to work.
All of these guys had a crazy lifestyle.
Yeah, but I'm saying,
but it wasn't publicized.
Exactly. So what I'm saying is that the guys that the molds of the people that I saw, like football players, my guy, Mike Singletary. You know, was
Lawrence Taylor.
Like that was the era of dudes like just men.
Yeah.
Strong, you know, just was
indestructible in a way.
Now these kids got Des Bryant, Odell Beckham coming out the hot tub with the dude, you know, blonde hair looking like Woodstock from Charlie Brown. You know, like this is
a lot of feminine. That's that masculinity to they try to demasculate. I'm just saying, it's just a lot of that, man.
You know, and when we look at back, you know, the older days, like though I'm a Bears fan, and Walter Payton to me is phenomenal as running back.
Sweetness.
Jim Brown is the greatest running back of all time.
We're gonna talk about your boy Jim Brown.
So you know, for what he did just a man amongst boys, what he did on the field. And so when they had that get together, when it was him and Muhammad Ali and Kareem and all them, when they stood together, who would that even be now?
Well, I mean, you know, LeBron, CP3, Carmelo, and Wade tried to do it, but
that was soft.
Yeah, I felt it in a sense.
It was delicate,
but it was definitely gloves.
You can't have a delicate protest like that.
Definitely gloves.
It was delicate
because at the end of the day, what's the follow through?
Nothing.
You know, I know they're excited because they just signed another extension for their labor deal in the NBA, so it looks good for them.
Yeah.
So I don't know. There's like I think one of the agreements was the back-to-backs, right?
Yeah, they're trying to get
they're gonna be able to lessen that, have a soft preseason where they're not gonna have that many games. Them brothers, like, why are you gonna rock the boat when the boat is rolling so good?
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. So when it looks at those male images, because you had
Colin Kaepernick, dog, that's it.
So you had exactly.
That's it.
So you had the generation where you had the Kareems, the Muhammad Ali's, the Jim Browns.
The money wasn't that big, dog.
Okay, but I'm saying, so you had those guys, and then you had, documented Kareem had issues with being very vocal about his views about things. Muhammad Ali, but I'm saying he had his issues. Maybe he was getting his little womanizer wrong. You had Jim Brown who was touching up women a little bit. So I mean, these weren't perfect men, but aside from that, they were willing to stand together and they represented something. Yeah. Now, the group that these guys have to look up to,
we got nobodies.
You
got nobody. You ain't got nobody. Everybody that does something that's powerful ends up doing something that makes you say, what I just see? Like, are you serious? They either say something, they post something. Like, for instance, you have Snoop Dogg does a powerful thing with the game, but it's kind of lame in a sense because like they're trying to like say to the police officers, we all want to clean up the community, the Bloods and Clips. But at the same time, you're doing that, but then you're bad-mouthing Colin Kaepernick of what he's doing. It's like you either play football or you be a revolutionary. You got to choose one. I'm thinking in my head like, well, you are Snoop Lion, Snoop Dogg, you're a Crip, or you're a rapper, or you're a chef. You choose which one. Yeah. You know what I'm talking about? In those moments, I really feel like every rapper that moves in a state of doing something positive, or any artist, they move back into doing something silly niggerish.
Okay, so my thing is, in good to piggyback off that, just Mr. Kaepernick real quick. So he got roasted for his ignorance on particular information. Not as an ignorant man, ignorant just in the sense of he didn't have all the information. I'm not going to denounce or denigrate a man because he's passionate and committed, but not completely informed. Yeah. For where he is age-wise, he needs to hit the books a little more. He needs to get a few more people around him to be more, get his history tighter, to get his social his awareness is acute, but his information is a little low. I'm not going to knock a dude for that. If he comes out and says, I see something wrong, I may not know how to fix it.
Yeah.
But that was something Tupac said. He said, I don't know how to clean it up, but if I keep talking about how messy it is long enough, eventually someone's going to come up and clean it.
I'm going to be the spark for change.
Yeah, I said, and that was his whole thing. He said, I don't know how to fix this. He said, but I'm just going to keep talking about it and force whoever does know how to fix it to fix it. So I don't believe in that, do one or the other. And if you don't have all the answers and you can't have any answers, but Kaepernick's now getting roasted, and he's going to make more kids. What they're doing to him, this is the dude who's standing up. Yeah. The dude who's saying, I have.
They did that to Muhammad Ali too, though.
Remember but the difference is that, and so no one's going to want to follow in Kaepernick's footprints, like in his footsteps, like the way they're doing him.
Well, the reason why is because Colin Kaepernick will never be as great as Muhammad Ali.
He's not a winner.
He's never. If Colin Kaepernick could have created a season to where at least they had some marginal of success. Yeah. This team has only won one game, right? Yeah. So he's going to get traded. He's going to get let go. He'll get cut, whatever, and he'll fade off into the sunset. And what he's done, we will look at 10 years from now, because I'm guaranteeing you pretty much 10 years from now, we're going to have the same fucking problems. Right? Yeah. And I think that when you have the lack of individuals that are not socially aware, but are so politically correct in a situation where there should be no politically correctness, I think that you got individuals that are so willing to follow the money and make sure they stay comfortable and being uncomfortable. And that's where it lies into guys, when you go back, and I'm going to go back on to Kanye because we got to go touch on him, where he has a whole world almost feeling sorry for him. He's got a mental breakdown. He's going through it, blah, blah, blah. Here he comes with his blonde hair, knowing the pulse of America, knowing the pulse of the minorities that have made you rich. Yeah. You go in there talking to Donald Trump, cheesing and smiling. That, like, to me, it's just like, dude, you really are an asshole. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you really don't give a fuck. And I don't know why people buy into these guys. I don't know why people idolize these guys and create these guys to the monsters that they are. Because when you want to blame someone, blame it on yourselves for putting so much stake. When he calls himself a god or he calls himself a genius, y'all calling him that self too. Yeah. Like you guys are the one that created this monster. I love these people for what they do. Yeah. On their professional ground, whether it's basketball, music. If I like it, I like it.
They're good at their job.
I don't follow in or run around, and I guess because I'm older, into the whole philosophy of the person unless I see traits that kind of resemble some of the things that I stand on. Right? That's it. So when you have situations and you see the lack of fatherhood, you see the lack of stable, strong individuals that can lay and laminate kind of information. And when we talk about, who was that for Kanye? It was Jay. Yeah. It was Dame Dash. All he had was Big Brothers. It was Beanie Siegel. It was Cameron. All he had was, it was No ID. Right? You know what I'm saying? He had all these people around him, circling around him to help him. But he has his own vision and he has his own selfish ways. And I don't believe any single person that was meeting with Donald Trump that was black, that was meeting with Donald Trump for the sake of really protecting the black community.
Okay, well I don't know. See, I don't know 100% on that one. So, because a few people have over the last couple months.
I didn't say not.
No.
Not everybody.
No. But I just to say something about it and to touch on it, because you had Dr. Claude Anderson when Trump was campaigning, and he lent his expertise to the Obama administration. They ignored him. He reached out to Clinton when she was campaigning. She ignored him. The only person who was willing to listen to him about setting up an infrastructure for black businesses and black economics was Donald Trump's people. Mm-hmm. Ray and Ray and Jim Brown met with him, and Jim Brown's giving him the pass. Like, I got a lot of respect for this dude.
Who, Trump?
Yes. And because Jim Brown leads the American Foundation, which is about similar business building and opportunities. And, you know, they got together and all of a sudden he's co-signing. Him and Ray Lewis are sitting there campaigning for him. So the idea of just meeting with them does not automatically mean that I don't think you have. I think probably Dr. Claude Anderson was the most genuine out of the names that I heard of people who met with him. I think other people who met was just kind of get a feeler just for their own, you know, like Oprah, you know, that limited access people who can sit down and talk with somebody. I think Dr. Claude Anderson was the only valid one that I would listen to. But Kanye is not. Kanye is not meeting with Trump to set up a good infrastructure for potential businesses in Chicago. He's not talking about, you know, opening up factories, you know, all these clothing line stuff he wants to do. He's not trying to set up factories where stuff can be made in America in impoverished areas and put Americans back to work, specifically black Americans from the region in which he's from. That ain't why he's meeting with Trump.
This guy is the same guy that was, I don't know who he was yelling for to give him $1 million or like some crazy amount of money.
Zuckerberg, Facebook dude.
He was asking him for a loan.
For money.
That like, this is the guy.
Yeah.
This is the same guy that said George Bush don't like black people.
Exactly.
I mean, this is the same guy.
Yeah.
And shouts out to Fred Hampton Jr. because he basically said when I had an interview with Fred Hampton Jr., shouts out to the soldier in Chicago. He said he made Kanye run that. Like he said, hey, brother, you got to do this. This is what you got to do. So, you know, now looking at, in hindsight, what's going on, I cannot really sit there and deny that story because it looked like it probably did happen, right?
Huh.
Because someone for sure got the strings on that puppet, right? And then in the same content, when you look at everything, and we go about the good old Ray Rice, Ray Lewis. Excuse me, Ray Lewis. I want to get those brothers mixed up, but stop telling black people to stop worrying about race. Stop telling us. No. Stop trying to make this idea that race does not matter when it does matter.
Yeah.
When it's very significant. Everything that has happened, let's just say in the last, we're not going to go too deep. We're just going to go on the last 3 years has all been race related. No. We can basically say history has all been what? Race related. So if you are telling me in 2016 that it doesn't matter, well, if it doesn't matter, it's not race related, run our reparations then. What I get frustrated by, these Negroes, these high-powered Negroes, I don't really mind you meeting with Donald Trump per se, because at the end of the day, if he ends up being our president, because we really don't know, because we got to touch on that Russian shit going on, right? If that's the guy, you're going to have to play the game, right?
Yeah.
You're going to have to sit down and figure it out. What my frustration is, bro, and I've talked about this, and you know, we talk about economics and stuff like that. We have so many Negroes with money and access.
Yeah.
People will say the Negroes have power. No, they don't really have an immediate position of power because, like, they don't let that power be used because they know as soon as they use it, they're going to get dropped.
Yeah, that's the big test. If you think you have power, try to spend it and see how far your power
not only
gets.
Try to spend it, start really organizing like the Black Panthers.
That's try to see what your money can actually get you.
You'll see what really happens, right? But we talk about Chicago, we talk about Kanye West, we talk about Baltimore, we talk about Ray Lewis. All you Negroes have access and money, and you have people that got big bucks. Yeah. Whether they're whites, whether they're Mexicans, you guys got access.
Yeah, Kanye, your best friends are worth $1 billion.
Limited resources, right?
Yeah.
So y'all telling me that you got to go talk to Donald Trump to get the okay when y'all could have literally, dog, I just left Chicago last December.
Yeah.
There are so many vacant buildings. There's so many homes unoccupied. Mm-hmm. You trying to tell me that you ain't got hooking up with Oprah, hooking up with Michael? Oh, y'all don't want to help me? Well, let me go get Common. Well, let me get this other high price money maker in my city or outside, and let me go revamp this whole thing like they do out here. They gentrify all the spots. So you Negroes telling me that y'all can't do that?
Well, and plus, if you look at Detroit, the city of Detroit is going to be Chinatown.
Yes, the Chinese people done sat there and bought that whole thing up.
They're buying bulk of the city of Detroit.
So y'all,
the businesses, the warehouses, all them burned down homes.
That's what I get so tired of. Y'all keep on tap dancing. Y'all keep on trying to explain to us it's not about race. Well, then what is it about? You keep on explaining to us that we got to look at it a different way. Well, how are we supposed to look at it?
Okay, well, those are two different arguments. Because an inability to, because another external force is stopping you, versus your lack of doing it. Because I think more of it has to do with they ain't trying to put their bread up and make these things happen. Not because there's a whole lot of external forces stopping them. I don't think they've ever tried.
Listen, let me tell you something right now.
Those particular people.
You allow and give Donald Trump the game plan of what you see is to be the economic rebuild.
Yeah.
They control it.
Yes.
So how is that really being ours?
It's not.
It's about ownership, right? So if black people want to take power, it's better to be like, do it first, then ask later.
I guarantee you the Chinese faction that came to Detroit and started purchasing up the homes and buildings did not need a meeting with Donald Trump, then sitting President Obama. They met with the banks to get the money, and they met with the owner of the property and made some transactions.
Whatever city council member they got already on the payroll, and whatever mayor is there, hey, first of all, we're going to go to the bank and get these realtors going to buy this, and then we're going to say, hey, check this out. This is what we want to do. Oh, well, shoot. No one else is dealing with it.
Exactly. Ghost town. I don't know if you've been to Detroit in the last decade.
I haven't been out there. I need to go check that out.
I've been to Detroit, and I got my people. Shout out to my family out there in Detroit. Literally, it'll be one house that's cool. And these are nice homes, like 2-story hardwood floor, Victorian style homes.
Way
beautiful
better than
homes.
what we get in California.
Beautiful homes. The equivalent, if you took one of those homes in Detroit and put it in anywhere California,
winning.
You're easily talking about a $300,000, $400,000 home.
Okay. Now
I was there in Detroit. They're like, man, you can get homes out here for $5,000. I was like, $5,000 down? It was like, nah, $5,000 outright.
Why are we out there right now?
Because what happens is your home is okay, but the home next to you doesn't have a roof. The one next to it looks like the old Best Buy buildings where the corner of the building is gone, bombed out, burns out, man. Homeless, crack house.
Same thing in Chicago, bro.
But I'm saying, but that's why.
So now these Negroes want to make a united plan with a guy who is a fascist, with a guy who's has racial undertones, with a guy that really truly hasn't denounced white supremacy. No. He kind of said, you know what I'm saying? A guy that could be linked to and this is the craziest part. We talking about all these other stories, and yes, they are very, very important. But an issue that the media hasn't really engulfed is the fact that Russia might have had something to do with the elections. Okay, well, being manipulated.
CNN, and I will give that the Washington Post and CNN did run with the stories, because the thing about the potential involvement of Russia in the election was because this goes back, because apparently the real story is not necessarily that Russia's involvement, is that allegedly Trump's knowledge, because at the time it was the belief was that the hacking job only affected Hillary Clinton. So if this is your competitor and there's an external force, not the big picture of this other entity is interfering with the politics and the practice of this government and who's going to be president and all that. But it really was like, ain't messing with me. Like, he was knowledgeable about some stuff going on, but it was only affecting Hillary. So he just said, F it. And so now they're looking at, this is the dude that our former, face of the franchise, the Jim Browns and said Dr. Claude met with him and Ray Lewis and Yeezy, all these people. This is with the guy that they're banking on is the dude that they need to talk to about good practices.
That's crazy.
This to me is, like I said, we don't have those go-to guys.
We don't.
That as a community and as a people, we're saying this dude genuinely, legitimately has my back, and not only has to will to execute, but actually has a plan worth following.
Yes, sir. And it's almost in a sense of like the elite blacks do not get it at all. Like, they don't understand. And I feel like sometimes, like, when these brothers and sisters fall back down to ground level, too. those zeros become lesser and lesser. Yeah. I think that that's when the reality hits, and that's why, wait a minute, I still am a Negro.
I couldn't buy my way out of black.
Nah, you can't, because it's a stain for life. Because you, for the life of me, with all of this going on.
Yeah.
It was like when KJ over here in Sacramento brought the UC Davis the president, the chancellor, right?
Yeah. Mayor Kevin Johnson, former Mayor Kevin Johnson of Sacramento, for the
in the midst of the scandal at one of these Urban League galas, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, you're bringing her to be a keynote speaker? This is who you bringing? A woman that's in the midst of a major scandal, you're bringing her to talk the Negro's actions, like of late, have just become so repulsing that you just sometimes just want to just not even turn on the TV and don't want to hear from the Floyd Mayweathers shaking around and talking about all lives matter and having pictures with Trump. And I get it, because guess what? You know what? They all are in the same tax bracket. They're rich.
Yeah.
So shit, I'm going to get as close to the mother effer that got the money, because at the end of the day, they don't talk poor language.
No. And if anything, you got to look at Don King and Donald Trump made a lot of money together.
Yeah.
You know, but if it wasn't that, they would have absolutely nothing to say to speak to each other about. And there's a lot of these guys out there who are like, you want to get close to the money. Let me get as close to the fire as I can to get warm. And if this dude is hot right now and he's got a lot of opportunities, me being linked to him is going to be nothing but a come up.
Yeah.
Even if it doesn't even involve him, if I can just be in enough pictures and enough conversations, it legitimizes my position.
Yeah.
You know,
it's all a win-win. So when the Negro can't take a stand, and when the Negro tried to convince us, like, well, this is what we're talking about, economics for the black people, and we're not talking about race, like that. First of all, you lose me there.
Yeah,
because it's always about race. Because unless we talk fully about black agenda, because let me tell you something, white people are okay. They got the privilege. They're going to be all right. I don't care about the needs and services they have. Right now, they're not dying the way we're dying.
And every other group addresses their individual needs.
We have to have our own individual needs, man. Yeah. And we don't really need you Negroes talking, especially guys like Ray Lewis that has put his foot in his mouth several different times. Yeah. And like I say, I don't want to hear it's not about race. You're not. Then you're turning me off right there, because everything is about race. Dylan Roof killed those black people in South Carolina because of race.
Because they were black, not because they were Christians, not because of the street corner that the church sat at. You know, it was racially motivated.
Stop the madness and stop the nonsense. So Claude Anderson, who I know has been advocating and has been pushing for black economics, has been doing the work
for 40 plus years.
I understand it, because in a situation of chess, man, you gotta go and do what you gotta do.
But I think the important part is he went to the Obama administration, turned him away. Went to Clinton, who was the Democratic Party, who's supposed to be for black people, turned away.
So in a sense of, I just don't think that we can play with the devil as we've played with it, because when Martin Luther King, played with the devils, he got a bullet.
Yeah, and Martin Luther King he was not assassinated because he had a dream. He was assassinated because the next stage of the campaign was economics. That it was no longer about integrated lunch counters, integrated schools, living next to whomever. It was solely on money.
Everything a black person has put their mind to, has created, has controlled for a minute. As soon we've allowed a multi fashions of culture, or let too many white people get in, they end up controlling it. You can look throughout history and see these as facts. Yeah. We dominate certain areas, and we have but one or two owners or high executives in these positions. And I don't think that living this kind of way is going to be productive for the future of black America.
Well, something that was brought up that goes along with that point is something that historically shows that for whatever reason, and of course you would equate it to slavery and the 100 years torment that followed it, is that whenever you interject a white person into a black business, the natural tendency is for black people to see the white person as the boss. So even if it's an entity that's been run for 50 years with 100% black participation, as soon as you incorporate a white person into the group, just by the sheer psychology of the history of this country, there's automatically just these things that start to work themselves into place. Not that the white person is necessarily extremely skilled or well, there's just the psychology of the minds of black Americans due to the history, the torment, the torture that has happened, not only physically, but psychologically and generationally. There's just an automatic default to the white person must be in charge.
Social engineering is a motherfucker.
But I think these are things that this is something important to say something about, is that I think there's a lot of other groups can't identify with that because they don't share the same history as black people. So in their eyes, they just see it as, oh, he just really climbed the corporate ladder. Yeah. He just really excelled. He was really smart. If you're Asian, if you're Hispanic, if you're Caucasian, if you're whatever, there's not the shared history.
They don't look at white folks as dominant.
But I'm saying that's just Charles.
They don't look at white folks as dominant.
But I don't think a lot of them incorporate the psychology, the transgenerational scarring, and just deep rooted just engineering that is in minds of black Americans, that as soon as you interject white people, that's why integration did such harm to black people. And the reason why we don't do, that's why to a degree the push for social economic segregation is why it's a real campaign, not just because of some anti-white or hatred for white people, but a lot of it is just the psychology of black minds here is, in order to build, which everyone else says, why didn't black people just build their own stuff? Why don't you just do your own stuff? It almost has to be separate until some of that transgenerational scarring is beginning to work its way out and some of those wounds are dealt with in order for us to come up and do better.
Or even in the same sense that you will have black people, because there's a lot of black people that own things in Sacramento, but they won't put their name out on it and say this is black because they're afraid that once I label it that, I'm going to lose business. Like the deep scars that we deal with on an everyday basis creates the environment, creates the moments that we're constantly in. It seems like on a daily, we're fighting the good fight to get some type of recognition, to get some type of respect, to make sure that there are these people in place to speak volumes. I'm going to really, really sit there and take my hats off to Mr. Trump when he meets Dr. Farrakhan.
Yeah, when he sits in
with Minister Farrakhan,
because that's a real conversation. Because these are things that are important that we have to address. This need for a strong and positive male model to look at, a strong, not only just father figure in the household, but in the community for the young men coming up, the young women coming up, the grown women to look to, the other grown men to lean on, the community to build upon. It was so important on so many levels. And a lot of times that we like to curve to the idea of, oh, no daddy's in the house, that's why kids are acting reckless. No, we need those positive male figures across the board. Not just because you're 12, 13, 14, but we need them as molds when you're 20, when you're 30, when you're 40, when you're 50. And that lack of it shows itself in so many different avenues across the board. And it's something that we can't just ignore, or something that we just can't put on the issues of why young people mess up. But that's why this nation has a lot of issues. That's why our community has a lot of issues. These are things that need to be addressed. These are things that we actually need to say something about.
Say something, say something, say something.
Coming at you another time. I'm Jermaine Morris, always bringing the real life without the sweeteners, here with the one and only Mr. Berry Accius.
Yes, sir. Berry Accius. Hit me up on Facebook, Twitter, Berry Accius, and at Instagram, at Team Void. Come holler at me.
You can find me at Jermaine Morris on Facebook. Everything else, Twitter, Periscope, Snapchat, all that stuff is at JMorrisCEO. You can also find you at blackblueprints.com.
Blackblueprints.com. And, check out the www.voiceofyouth.com. We got a crab feed jumping off. Shouts out to all the trolls and to the haters. You know what I'm saying? Appreciate you guys. Love you.
We appreciate you for listening. And until next show, we'll holler at you later.
Yes, sir.